Been a couple of rough days for travelers out of Los Angeles with hundreds of delays and canceled flights because of that weather that Laura was just talking about and some other problems. Gridlock is not exclusive to LA, especially this time of year. Today is one of the busiest travel days of the year, so you will need all the patience you can muster. Here with his road map to navigating the craziness, Edward Pizzarello, travel expert and blogger at Pizza in Motion. Edward, thanks for being with us. What's your number one piece of advice?
Thanks for having me back on, John. Good afternoon. You know, the number one piece of advice is to be prepared and be early. The white Christmas stuff is really going to mess up the airports where there is weather. We're already at capacity in a number of airports across the country. So you want to make sure you're checked in. You want to make sure that you're double checked on where you're supposed to go. And if your flight is actually on time, don't wait for the airline to tell you that there's a problem.
The advantage we have these days is some of the apps that you can actually download to your smartphone to help you, help keep you where you're going on time. Can you tell us about some of those?
Yeah, and the interesting thing is, while you do want to have the app for the airline you're traveling on, that may not always be your best source. There's a number of other apps out there, Flight Track Pro, Flight Stats, where they also have that information for all different carriers, and sometimes they'll post updates on your flight before your airline app will, and it's important to have that information so you can be first in line at the counter to talk about where you need to go if there is a problem.
Let's say you're at an airport and your flight gets canceled and they say, absolutely no chance of getting you on another flight for the next 24 hours. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah, that's a tough one. All these flights are so highly filled right now, capacity maximum. The problem with LAX and those first few flights that got canceled is a snowball effect where you may not be able to get on a flight for a couple days. You've got to be creative at that point, and maybe if you're in LA and you're headed to, say, New York, think about alternate airports. Is there another place you can go to get out of the weather pattern, maybe reposition yourself? You might not want to drive to your destination, but if you can get within a couple of hours of where you need to go, rather than missing out on Christmas or Hanukkah with your family, getting close enough and driving that last leg may be your best option.
So check out rental cars, maybe find another nearby airport that might not be so impacted by the weather or whatever it is that you're experiencing there.
Yeah, and also remember, too, if you're having a weather problem at the airport you're at, there probably are plenty of airports where there, A, aren't weather issues, and B, maybe not that sort of overcapacity. So if you can get somewhere else and reposition and then figure out where to go next, you're getting closer to your destination. But if you're sitting in an airport where there's already weather and cancellations, it's likely not to get better anytime soon.
You mentioned that airlines are very good at filling up their planes these days. It's rare, it seems like, that there's a middle seat open anymore. Tantamount with that, the frequent flyer programs, the so-called affinity programs, they don't seem to have the perks that they used to have.
No, they don't. And I'll tell you, as much as I travel as a business traveler, I've ended up in a lot of those middle seats this year. When you're buying those tickets at the last minute, planes are full. There's a lot of sameness between the big carriers, and the strategy right now is to see if you can focus your efforts with one carrier to get to a higher level of status. Those lower levels of status are significantly diluted in that you can get something as simple as a credit card to get most of those benefits, where before you'd have to fly 25,000 or 50,000 miles with that airline to get something like a free check bag or priority boarding. Now they're reserving the really good benefits for those that spend $25,000 a year or more.
So affinity credit cards with one of the airlines, that's one of your recommended means to continue to fly and fly comfortably?
If you're not going to have a lot of travel, those Infinity credit cards are definitely going to help you get through a lot of different passageways. I think the big key, too, is if you are a business traveler with a lot of miles on the road, you want to try and focus on one program. Those top-level elite still get great benefits, and we'll call it the top 1%, if you will. They still get great benefits, but they're very hard to achieve, and trying to split that between two airlines is going to be much more painful. So I definitely lean on get the highest status you can with one airline by focusing as much flying as you can there, and then strategically put a credit card in your wallet that helps you get the other benefits that you need, whether that's lounge access or free check bags, so that you're ready for a backup scenario if you can't get there on your primary airline.
Edward Pizzarello, travel expert, Pizza in Motion. Thanks, Ed.
Thanks, John.